Hello dear friends and viewers and trolls who's gonna be blocked. Today is August 21st, 2023. I'm in a neighborhood next to mine called Turnic, and I'm going through what I call the last piece of puzzle I have in a picture of my life regarding a frenemy, a creep, a guy I know already 31 years. Let's call this guy Adam, and as a picture of Adam, let's place there a picture of Adam Lester from the family, Adam's family, because he looks eerily similar. By the way, this school there, Turnic, used to be my primary school for a while. So last piece of puzzle is let's introduce another character in the story. Let's call this character old good friend of mine. I know old good friend of mine since 1991. Let's call him rock and roller. And the creep I know since 1992 when I was 17. So a good guy I met when I was 16 and a bad guy when I was 17. So by meeting this good old friend of mine, rock and roller, we met in and around rock and roll club Balach. I was a young punk rocker there and he was rockabilly, and remained true to that all these decades. So we met for a cup of coffee. We regularly meet. He's a really good guy, and he asked me with a quite surprise in his face, I met Adam, and he told me that you told him the critical information. I'm not gonna give you details. It's actually a cluster of information. And I told him, dude, listen, number one, Adam and I, we don't talk. I don't like him, he doesn't like me, because he witnessed time when basically verbally Adam, either drunk or short of booze, verbally attacked me, totally out of blue. So we don't talk, number one. Number two, why would I tell him that? What is in for me? And thing number three, well, I tried to explain him what I'm gonna explain you now, but he didn't want to listen. He was quite surprised that how did Adam knew this set of information, because that was only known by me and by my friend Rock and Laura I had a conversation with. And then I tried to explain him, dude, every time we met there was a third person in the game, the smartphone, and whoever sucks the information through the smartphone is the entity which gave information to Adam, who is obviously a snitch and an agent. And but he couldn't believe it, because let's face it, my friend Rock and Laura, the James Dean, he's a good looking guy, he's a witty guy, he's a people's guy, but he's not a guy who knows about the conspiracy. He's not a guy who knows about what it means to be targeted individual. He's a vaccinated guy, same as Adam. So this information was too unbelievable for him, that our old frenemy could be somehow connected to the powers that be. But to me this was a final piece of puzzle. And now let me analyze you the way how I think, and the system of checks I put in my calculation to start figuring out who was around me, member of the powers that be. So number one, what is the most important is whether person was born in the privilege, meaning from the family who has influence, money, real estates, and so on. Number two, does that person still have a privilege of living of life, let's say upper middle class and above? And third thing is, does that person really insisting on meeting me, hanging out with me in order to extract information, of course, and influence? Because let's face it, if you want to be my friend, what is in for you, right? And fourth important part is, does that person does gaslighting to me, and does that person does the gaslighting to the people surrounding me, which is called the smear campaign, because smear campaign is nothing than lying and disseminating lies and disinformation to the surrounding in order for that surrounding to form negative opinion on you, which was of course clearly the case in this, and I'm gonna come to that. So the story of a creepy Adam. Creepy Adam attached himself to me when I was 17, when I was a cool kid with a cute girl, with a cute bunch of friends around me, Lerga, Katarina, later on Robbie, Florinda, etc. We've been, altar kids going to that rock club, all met through the love for music and art, etc. And Adam, essentially, you're gonna laugh, he essentially attached to me and like literally copied my outfit by, for example, taking my coat and taking that coat to his tailor so the tailor could literally copy my coat. And he asked me what music I listen. He took samples, he didn't listen it, but he got the idea of, and then he attached himself to my circle of friends. He was not accepted by the circle of friends. He was called different names behind the back, but they all respected him because they respected me. But they call him Tetak, meaning ant, Mrak, meaning darkness. I call him usisivač energije, the vacuum cleaner of energy, because he would make me, very tired very quickly. Other people, not part of our circle, call him Fleck, which is the basically uncle type figure from one TV series Smogovci, which is locally known. Of course, you guys in States don't know it. And our friendship started when I was 17, and effectively it ended as a hangout time when I was 20, due to the series of weird events. So let me now run you through these weird events. So I'm 17, we are drinking. By the way, Adam is alcoholic. He's been admitted to hospital number of occasions, and he still has alcoholic habit. So he was also a very big drinker when we were kids. I was 17, he was 18, only 1 year older than I was. And once when we've been drinking, he was basically hitting on me, trying to kiss me. And so I said no, but this was, weird. But then again, this been 1990s, and far weirder things been happening in our region. There was a war, all kind of madness was happening on the streets as well, people shooting, throwing bombs. So episodes like this were not really considered to be way too crazy. So there was another episode, and that episode was on my 19th birthday. A friend Jana, she was organizing it in Bakarac village, in a very old cool house. We also celebrated there my 18th birthday. He was there, and Jana basically told me, he sexually harassed me. They've been on a terrace, house next to that old house, all part of the property, and he didn't let me go until we made out, and I also had the trouble by leaving him behind me. So this was like, weird, because these things were actually not happening in my circle of friends, really. And only one occasion with Haris from Bosnia. So, okay, this was like weird. That also alienated Jana from my circle of friends, because he was very attached to me. And I was, by the way, what was in for me. So, as a kid, it was flattering for my ego that I have a friend who's essentially following me as a dog, copying me. Look how cool I am. But another thing, what was also interesting about Adam, and this is the part of the story I need to introduce now, he was coming from the privileged family. He was still lives in Riječki Mali Neboder, which is building everybody knows in Rijeka, which is a skyscraper that I'm now building, built in the early 20th century. A luxurious building, everything in marble inside. Apartments are more than 150 meters big, huge ceilings, and he lived there because his grandfather was a big-time doctor. He was a specialist for radiology back then. Interesting part that he was also Freemason, according to his words. And now let me show you where my gang stalker lives. So this is the cathedral, this is the main church in my city. That building there is Veliki Neboder. And this is the beginning of Corso, the main zone, main pedestrian zone. So turning left, business center, and the seat of the bishop in Rijeka. So this is where the Catholic chief lives. And right next to it is the most luxurious building in this city, called Mali Neboder, built in 1939. Of course, no shortage of money there. As you can see, it's in pristine condition. So you have two beautiful luxury apartments per floor, apart of the top floor, which is two luxury apartments. Okay, and then on the ground floor you have Posh Cafe, and next to it you have Antiquariat Mali Neboder, or the second-hand bookshop with all other cute things. Right next to it, Hrvatski Telekom. Right next to it is the biggest telephone company in this country, HT Telekom, now owned by the Germans, with many other businesses also in the building as well. So this is the prime zone. I know it doesn't look like that, but it is. There are many businesses here, and this is where the money is, and this is where the most privileged people actually live, believe it or not, including our bishop. And another view on that Mali Neboder. You see how beautiful it is, and this is the area. Location, location, and location. So guys, remember when I pointed to that Veliki Neboder down his street, and here is the Corso. So shops, pubs, businesses, all of it, and this is the hottest zone here in a city of 200,000 people, right? So you guys think that anybody can live there? You think that guys like you and me can live there? So this on its own, it was not telltale sign, but the thing that he knows things he's not supposed to know, and smear campaign, and that he's coming from the money and shitloads of even Masonic connections, all that added up, and it took me only 31 years to figure it out. Yeah guys, that's how it is. It took me only 31 years to figure it out that this guy, my old friend Adam, ex-friend, is the big time insider. So obvious question would be, so Kruno, what's the price of it? And rest is the math. So average price per square meter in my city is 2,100 euros per square meter. Of course this is average. For that there could be definitely more, 3.5, 150 times 3. What would that be? 450,000 euros, easily 500,000 euros. Mother was also very educated. She was also a medical doctor. Father was not that educated, his father, but he was a police officer, career police officer, and later on had a career position in the Croatian army throughout the war, and after that very fat pension. So he was coming from that privileged background, and you know, as a kid I was like, wow, that's cool. Guy with the pedigree, you know, we respect that here, we respect money. Also had some gadgetry like a firearm. I clearly remember that Beretta firearm. He was gaslighting me that it doesn't work and that I should put it on my head and shoot it because nothing gonna happen. I didn't want to risk. It did work. It shoot his bed when he was fooling around with that. So that much about that. He was armed even as a teenager. His father brought that firearm to him from the police station. So yeah, and Another thing, and this was the last thing which basically creeped me out when I was a kid. I was 19. We went to that place I filmed number of times. Mlinovina. Those I'm gonna insert pictures. Those old water mills. Now only ruins. Back in that time, it was undeveloped. It was a bit more difficult to reach that part. Not many people be hanging out there. So we went there and we used to make a fire and, you know, do a little bit barbecue and stuff. He had a wine on him, he was drinking, I wasn't. Because my habit was never to drink throughout the day and throughout the week. Only weekends. Now I don't drink at all, but back then weekends were for friends and going out to pub. And so he got quite a bit of drunk. Then he started to act very fucking weird. So he started to walk in a like a wooden style, and he started to make facial expressions like this. So what triggered him is that he saw two 9-year-old girls in the basin of the river, and there was almost no water there, and he was insulting them from the distance. Pasulare, pasulare. And I thought that, you know, that he's in a character, that he's just you know, fooling around. Then he went towards those kids, started to approach them, and started to get into that basin, and started to say something incoherent, something I couldn't really understand. But I felt at one moment, I felt, you know, the evil energy, you understand me, coming from him. And I just grabbed him by the collar and pulled him away. And surprisingly, he followed without resistance, and he came to his senses. From what I understood, he wanted to SA the kids. And you know, not cool at all. But, and I was like, what the fuck? What the fuck? You know, these guys had fucked up moments before. Like, you know, sexually assaulting a friend of yours is not a red flag. Well, not if you're a stupid kid in Balkans in 1994. But when it came to the point that he was willing to attack 9-year-olds, this was like, what the fuck? And so, you know, in and around that time, I just, you know, stopped hanging out with him. We've been hanging out a lot. He was always pushing alcohol and also crazy ideas. And also one other thing, super important for the story, he was extremely inquisitive. He would always question me a lot about my friends. And when we were good friends, I was like open as I am and naive. At the time I was just openly speaking about it, especially about drug habits and details about it. And there was always schadenfreude when it came to that said part of the rock and roll scene. So now comes 1995. I'm still with my girlfriend Anna, and I complained about how can't I find a summer job at that time, and because it was a war, and he told me, "Fuck you! I'm so happy for your misery. Good that you have that kind of problem," something like that. So be it, nekati. And he done it in front of my girlfriend. And when he walked away out of his tantrum, he had those. She looked at me and asked me, "Kruno, je li on stvarno tvoj prijatelj? Kruno, is he really a friend of yours?" And I looked at her, I clearly remember that, and I clearly remember it was in front of Žabica, downtown. And told her, "I'm not sure. I don't think so." So this is when we stopped hanging around. But another thing persisted, which was whenever we met he was like in a police manner questioning me about people we know, and then questioning about people he doesn't even know personally, but he knows of them. He would go after one case, after one case, after one case, after one case, and in time, in my 20s, I was like fed up with that. You know, I was just blowing him away. I don't know. If you wanna know something about Izet, please ask Izet. I'm not his secretary. If you wanna know something about Lerga, ask Lerga. I'm not his secretary. And then he would get upset. What the fuck is your problem, etc., etc. So, fast forward. 2022 summer. I'm sitting on a bench with that good friend of mine, the James Dean, right, rock and roll guy, rocker, and we are in pretty good spirits. We are laughing, going through memories, memory lane, etc. I need some water. And what happened, he came in a quite aggressive manner. He asked, "You know each other?" So sure, we know each other. And then he approached me and said, "I know that you've been homeless. Fuck you, you deserve it. I'm glad for you because you're a piece of shit," something in these lines. I was like, what the fuck? And then he told this friend, now this is the following line. "Ušao mi je u stan, otišao do kuhinje, uzeo kekse, izašao van, moj tata je to sve vidio i rekao nemoj ga više dovoditi u kuću." He said to this guy that I entered his apartment, went into the kitchen when his father was in the kitchen, that I took kekse, the box of cookies, and went out through the doors outside. Now let that sink in, okay? And I said, dude, I never done anything like this, is crazy. And he just continued to talk shit like that until I politely asked him to leave. And then, you know, we kind of concluded, what the fuck? And I said, listen, I really don't want to see that guy ever again. So now comes a year after. The only time when we met is not far away from this place. He was standing. He like greeted me, "Hey, how are you? Yes, like where are you?" And I said, "Hi, Alan. Sorry, Alan, Adam, here, and here I do some." And I just moved away. And he said, "Oh, I see, you know." And then after that, he approached that friend and said that that occasion told him critical information, which is not good to know. And the point of the story is following. So, in my understanding, so now comes what does he do? What is he doing for a life? He's security. He is armed, both officially and unofficially. And another part of the information is that he's been to detox for a couple of times, sent by his security company, which is totally out of the character for businesses here, because when a person has serious problems like that, especially responsibility of bearing a firearm at the place of work, people are getting dismissed for far less of infraction than being problematic at the job. We're talking about instances pulling a gun in his mouth and contemplating suicide, hysterical episodes, being hospitalized number of times because of the mental and alcoholic related problems. So guys, I don't know where you guys are coming from, but in Croatia for something like this, of something 10% of that you get booted ASAP. And the only reason why his company was keeping him around, because he's clearly high. He's clearly connected, you understand me, and protected. So this is another indicator of the privilege. Although he's officially at the low position, if you will, don't forget, when shit hits the fan, when a new world order arrives, all of those security guys, they're gonna be police, and they're gonna by the law have shitloads of authority over us. You guys from States, you know it the best. All the thing with FEMA camps and with the private security companies. I'm talking exactly about that, guys. So he's not nobody. And what else I was trying to remember. So back in a day when before we had a little spice in our pockets all the time called cell phones, and before a time when amazing intelligence was working behind them, as we know, the artificial intelligence, people like him were needed for information gathering, for infiltration in groups, as he was clearly that kind of mole, and you know, absolutely oddball, totally not fitting the crowd. And unfortunately, I was his flying monkey. I was his enabler. And I'm ashamed of it, guys. But as a 17, 18, 19, I didn't know better. As a 20-year-old, I did. And another thing is now, when he's no longer needed as a snitch, because everybody has one of those, now he's needed for what? Drucker is not only Drucker or snitch. Drucker is always an agent. So he's needed as an agent, and he was doing this role. And of course that his handlers are watching this very well, spreading this information and turning friends against me, as he tried to turn this old friend against me, and then he knocked it off. So you see, all of these lies are actually very stupid if you analyze them, like entering apartment, stealing box of cookies and leaving. But when these lies get repeated over and over and over again, it actually gets into a human ear. Because don't forget what his colleague Goebbels, also habitual liar, said, the German Minister of Propaganda during the Nazi time, 100 times repeated lie becomes the truth. So I did notice on another friend, you know, Richter, that he started to avoid me and doesn't even want to have a cup of coffee, and even turning head when he sees me, and he's, you know, mutual friend. So it does make an impact. So now he entered this phase of disinformation, and he's using this credibility on knowing me for so many years to spread these lies. So yeah, Adam is a snake. He is definitely showing signs of sexual deviancy, a tendency for homosexualism, tendency to harass women, a tendency to pray after children, also sadist as well. He was bringing how he, you know, killed a cat and how her eye was out. So, you know, really a nasty piece of shit. And all these signs been in front of me so many years, but I was falling for his superficial charm. So that's all I basically have to say about him. Thank you for watching, and yeah, later on I gonna continue about another friend. They are connected, and I gonna continue with proverbial story of the Chekhovlev gun. Chekhov was a Russian writer from the second half of the 19th century, and he established the rule: once you introduce a gun on a wall, by the third act you better use it. So when Adam and I were friends, he was repeating me, "Oh, you gotta meet Voivoda, you gotta meet Voivoda." My father was talking a lot about Voivoda. He's a very cool guy. He's a weird guy. Mi bi mogli s njim srati do sutra. We could talk shit with him till tomorrow. He's architect. He designed the house made out of the lead to stop radiation going inside the house. So I was like 18 when I was hearing from him about Professor Voivoda, which I gonna meet down the timeline in 1996. Hey guys, now having a cup of coffee with my Illuminati born-in friend, who finally admitted to be born in. Okay, and well,
and who will be born now?
There is no way out, you know that. There is no way out.
Yeah, there's no way out.
There is no way out.
Okay. it is.
So all things are connected, and seems like that in every phase of my life until waking up, I always had one of those creeps around me, and it always followed this pattern. Born in privileged, living privileged life, wants to be very close to me, especially in a creepy way, does gaslighting and does smear campaign. So this is the definition of a frenemy, and this is the definition of Reptilian Illuminati psychopath. Doesn't matter what it is, as Deng Xiaoping, former chairman of People's Republic of China, said when he was introducing capitalism in China. It doesn't matter if cat is white or black. What it matters is that it's chasing mice. So same goes with these guys. You know, whatever sub level of the being insider these guys are, they've been doing their jobs very well.